In the early 1990s, a homemade VHS circulated around called Grave Robbing for Morons. It features a young man stutteringly explaining how to rob graves without getting caught, what bones are most valuable, and other grave robbing tips. In the video, he shows what appears to be an actual human skull that he's stolen.
Important, right? Alright, so you take a sample.
At the end, he gives nicknames of himself and his grave robbing crew, Anthony, Gino, Taco, and Poochie, and vows to continue robbing graves for the fun of it.
Because it really helped and everything, because we're the forefathers, me, Taco, and Poochie and everything, we're the first ones who opened up and everything. We made this.
To this day, no one knows who made this video or who the narrator is. There is a site dedicated to finding out the origin of the video and identifying the narrator, but they don't have any additional information to add. I did a little digging and I ended up finding out where this video originally came from. So the video actually came from a DVD bootleg called Ensuring Your Place in Hell. It's a compilation of 4 different half-hour-long home movies. I'm not going to go into full depth about the DVD, but if you want to do your own research, you can find the videos on YouTube. There's a lot of reasons why people may think that this video is fake, and I'm going to go over a few. The narrator gives extremely over-the-top instructions, like, never leave witnesses, knock them out so they think it was a dream. That sounds more like horror movie dialogue than real criminal advice. Many feel it undermines credibility. I'm gonna give you a few examples now.
The night before you do it, you should get laid. You should get laid because that exercises certain muscles, and as a matter of fact, you do have a lot more energy. It's like if you want a Melvis or something, you get at least a mil for it.
No one has definitely identified the speaker or the exact production of the video. During that era, lots of underground horror, fake snuff, and shock videos were made to look real, often traded privately or later leaked online. Grave Robbing for Morons sits right into that subculture stylistically. There's also a lot of inconsistencies in the story. He claims to have real experience robbing graves, but then he says he only has robbed 2 graves.
Alright, your first one's going to be very exciting, but your second one's going to be a little boring. This is my second one. This is a little boring, you know. I find no fear in holding it.
I would also like to point out the production details. The video includes cuts, camera direction, and lighting that suggests someone behind camera knew what they were doing. Another reason why people think this video is fake is because there's no criminal record or police case. Despite its circulation online for years, no law enforcement agency has ever confirmed any connection between the footage and a real grave robbing case. The man on the tape identifies himself only as Anthony. People on the internet have made the connection between this Anthony and infamous grave robber Anthony Casamassima. Casamassima was arrested in the late 90s for stealing and then selling objects from graves. I'd like to point out that 25 minutes and 33 seconds into the video, the man begins to say his name is Anthony Cass before abruptly stopping.
This was made by Anthony. Well, as a matter of fact, let's forget the last name. It's Anthony and Gino, okay? This is made by us too.
However, this information doesn't add up because Casamassima was actually in his 40s at the time of his arrest. While it's unclear when the video was recorded, if it was shot around the time it was released, the boy is far too young to be Casamassima. Also, Casamassima stole objects and was never known to actually take body parts from graves. With that being said, some people still think it could be real, mostly because it's so disturbing and weirdly specific. The mix of realism and absurdity makes it sit in that uncanny valley between bad acting and too convincing. Whether Grave Robbing for Morons was a twisted art project or a genuine window into something darker, one thing's for sure, it left a mark. Even decades later, the tape still floats around through corners of the internet, raising the same question, and it always has. What kind of person would make something like this, and why? In 2011, a Reddit account started posting nothing but strange coded messages, lines of random numbers, symbols, and text that no one could understand. Some thought it was government communication, others believed it was AI learning to speak. The account was called A858, and what happened next has become one of Reddit's greatest unsolved mysteries. Every few hours, this mysterious user going by A858 would post blocks of indecipherable code to a private subreddit named just after themselves. No context, no replies, just data. And over time, those numbers began to draw the attention of Reddit's most curious minds. r/A858 became one of the strangest corners of the internet. Thousands of posts appeared there, all made up of random sequences of code, like something ripped straight out of the Matrix. At first glance, it looked meaningless, but when people started decoding small fragments, the results were weirdly deliberate. One message revealed an ASCII, American Standard Code for Information Interchange, drawing of Stonehenge. Another translated into a line that simply read, "Mission accomplished." That's when Reddit took notice. Soon an entire community formed to solve it. The community was called r/solving A858. Programmers and conspiracy theorists all gathered to figure out what A858 was trying to say. As people dug deeper, theories began to spiral out of control. Some people believed A858 was a government experiment hiding encrypted communications in plain sight. Others thought it was a recruitment puzzle, like something used by the CIA or an elite hacker group trying to find new members. A few suggested that A858 wasn't even human at all. Maybe it was an AI trained to generate code as it learned from the internet. But this is when things got even stranger. Every now and then, posts from A858 would vanish without warning. Entire threads deleted, sometimes right after someone made progress decoding them. The subreddit would go private, then reopen again weeks later, as if whoever was behind it was watching, waiting, and adjusting. Eventually, after years of speculation, the mystery seemed to end just as quietly as it began. In 2015, the moderators of the A858 subreddit briefly made it public again, and someone claiming to be part of the project finally spoke up. They said that A858 had been a data experiment meant to study how online communities react to mystery and ambiguity. According to them, there was no secret code, no government conspiracy, just a social experiment that grew far beyond what they expected. But not everybody believed this. Many thought the explanation felt too simple and too neat. After all, if A858 really was an experiment, why did some of its messages still contain encrypted data that no one's ever fully decoded? To this day, A858 is locked. The account hasn't posted in years, but people still talk about it, still dig through its archives, still wonder who or what was behind it all. Maybe it was a hoax, maybe it was art, or maybe it was something else entirely. Something that was never meant for us to find. Until the day it returns, the mystery of A858 remains unsolved. And to me, that's exactly how they wanted it. If this mystery kept you watching until now, hit like. It helps the algorithm notice stories like this, the ones that don't get told often. And if you're into digital mysteries and the eerie side of Reddit, subscribe. We go deeper every week. In February 1959, 9 hikers from the Ural Polytechnic Institute in Russia set out for what should have been a difficult but achievable trek. They were young, athletic, and disciplined. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, was only 23, but already respected as an outdoorsman. The group included engineering students, athletes, and even a World War II veteran. They boarded a train heading into the icy wilderness, laughing, taking photos, unaware that this would be the last pictures ever taken of them alive. Their goal was Mount Otorten, a peak whose name, in the language of the local Mansi people, means "don't go there." The first few days went smoothly. They hiked, sang songs, wrote in their journals, and documented every step of the journey. On February 1st, they set up a camp on the slope of a mountain called Kholat Syakho. Its name roughly translates to Dead Mountain. That night, powerful winds tore across the slope. Temperatures plunged below -30 degrees. The next morning, the world would never hear from them again. When the group failed to return, a massive search operation began. Friends, military units, and even volunteers combined through the snow, and after 9 days, they found the tent. What they saw made no sense. The tent was still standing, partly buried in snow, but intact. It had been ripped open from the inside. Inside were boots, jackets, money, cameras, everything a group in sub-zero weather would never willingly abandon. But there were no hikers. Footprints, barefoot or wearing only socks, led down the slope. They followed the prints until they disappeared near a tree line. There at the base of a cedar tree, they found the first 2 bodies, lying side by side, barefoot, wearing only underwear. A small campfire smoldered nearby. The branches above them were broken, as if someone had climbed in a panic, trying to escape something unseen. 3 more bodies were found halfway back towards the tent. Their positions suggested that they'd been trying to return to camp, crawling through the snow before collapsing. It wasn't until months later, when the snow melted, that rescuers found the remaining 4 nearby in a ravine, and the bodies were different. 2 had fractured skulls, 2 others had crushed ribs, injuries so severe that they could only have been caused by something with massive pressure, yet there were no external wounds. As if something had struck them from within. One woman was missing her eyes, and another, her tongue. The official investigation raised more questions than it answered. There were traces of radiation found on their clothes. Their skin had a strange orange hue, almost as if they'd been exposed to something toxic. There were no signs of another person's footprints, no animal tracks, no evidence of a struggle, just 9 people who had fled their tent in the dead of night to never return. Over the decades, countless theories have surfaced. Some people said it was an avalanche, but the slope was too shallow and the footprints were too clear. Others believed secret Soviet weapons testing scared them out of the camp. Some claimed they'd seen glowing orbs in the sky, lights reported by other locals that same night. A big theory is that aliens were actually contacting them, but one of the theories was that a Yeti attacked them. I think this is probably my favorite theory, and there's a picture that goes along with it that's pretty eerie. In 2019, the Russian authorities reopened the case. After a new study, they concluded it had likely been a small slab avalanche, a section of snow breaking loose and sliding silently over their tent, forcing them to cut their way out and flee. This could explain some of the things: panic, exposure, the frostbite deaths, but it doesn't explain the trauma, the radiation, or why the hikers wouldn't regroup or rebuild shelter. 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass remains a place of silence and dread. 9 memorials stand among the snow, a reminder that even now, with all of our science and theories, some mysteries belong to the mountains. Whether it was nature, human fear, or something we'll never understand, the Dyatlov hikers left behind a story that chills anyone who hears it. A frozen enigma, echoing through time, and as the wind howls across the mountain, some say, you can still hear them calling for help. Me and my friend went to the mechanic today and we found this on his car. I'm pretty confident it is a tracking device by the FBI, but my friend's roommate thinks it is a bomb. Any thoughts? Edit 1. I should also clarify that the FBI has had interest in my friend since his father passed away, as he was a religious leader, and they've made attempts at contacting my friend to spew racist questions. I should have been more clear when clarifying, but a religious Muslim leader, and I am an ENT, but it was my friend's car and he doesn't have Reddit. My plan was just to put the device on another car or in a lake. Edit 3. More pictures. Edit 4. People keep repeating some posts, so I'll address the more frequently asked questions here. The device was found near the exhaust but further in. My friend's father was a Muslim religious leader, and it is not his ex-girlfriend that placed the device on his car, nor some random other employee or such. He bought the car a little under a year ago, and it wasn't there for sure. 2 days later, OP's friend opened his door to see 2 men in dark suits standing beside black SUVs. They said, "We're here to take back our property." It was the FBI. The agents told him he'd been under surveillance for months. They asked about his family, his travels, and even his religion. When he asked what he'd done wrong, one of the agents replied, "You haven't. Yet." The Reddit post went viral. News outlets confirmed the device was real, an official FBI tracker. OP's friend sued the government, but the case was dismissed. And the scariest part, the FBI never said why they were watching him. So next time you're getting an oil change, you might want to take a closer look underneath, because for one Redditor's friend, that's how he found out he'd been being watched by the FBI the entire time. What would you do if you found something like that under your car? Let me know in the comments. I read every one of them. And if you want more real stories that'll keep you up tonight, make sure to subscribe before you go, because next time, things get even darker.